Nope, I missed that one.
That's
Keep an eye out. Oh, there we go, white van.
That's the first bridge in 24 miles. So
That's the only bridge for 24 miles, apparently, between Nottingham and Newark. Gunthorpe Road Bridge. Apparently it was the Vikings that built the first bridge here. Something like that. Anyway, it's been around for a long time. Actually, no, I got that wrong. It was Trent where the Vikings built the first bridge.
this is the River Trent.
Yeah, but it was the Trent Bridge in Nottingham where the Vikings built the first bridge. This is the Gunthorpe Road Bridge. It's been around for quite a long time. Gunthorpe has apparently been like a pretty major ford and then ferry and then bridge and then a bridge again for quite a long time.
And it's the only crossing between Nottingham and Newark.
Yeah, road crossing. There is a train. There's a train trestle back there. But this is the only road bridge for 24 miles apparently. So
morning.
Yeah. Morning. That's true. Yes. Morning. But yeah, just imagine living, halfway between here and Newark or here in Newark or here in Nottingham and wanting to visit your friend on the other side.
Yeah.
Being like, well, I'll just drive 12 miles that way, go across 12 miles back to visit somebody who's 150 feet away.
I can wave at.
It's going to be a bit of a impact. So a lot of people around here on boats, I guess.
So we had a really nice night in Gunthorpe.
Mm-hmm.
It's really peaceful. I think we saw one other boat come past last night. It's so quiet.
Yeah, the only traffic is the swans, the ducks, and the herons.
Swans really don't like George.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man, do they not ever.
And if you don't feed them the swan food fast enough, they'll get quite aggressive.
Yeah. They're like, feed me, you stupid human. So we've had to move George up and tie him up at the end of the, sort of walkway in the park there so that he's not antagonizing the swans, because if you just have him on the pontoon, they'll be like, we must get to him and kill him.
And he doesn't seem scared
He has
of them.
no idea that they're even there.
He's not interested in attacking them or being afraid of them. He's just indifferent.
He's just standing there being like, why are you hissing at me, you crazy thing?
He's just in George world.
Yeah.
Which is probably quite a nice place to be, I imagine.
Well, I can imagine that there'd be worse worlds to visit. Yeah.
And it's just a beautiful spring morning today. It's a bit fresh, but the sun is rising in the sky, and
the wind that was biting us yesterday has died down overnight.
Yeah, the water's pretty much like glass. There's just a few little ripples.
Yeah.
And sky is not a cloud in sight, apart from that little one there.
Which is really just a fuzzy little paintbrushy type, like a Bob Ross.
Swans are coming back. They're in attack mode.
Happy bit of cloud. Yeah, the swans are... Oh, good Lord, the swans. I like swans at a distance. Close up, they're just like trying to take my fingers off, and I want to antagonize them.
He's coming for your finger. Why are you doing
I will
this?
point this at you because I do not like you. You try and bite me. Anyway, it's a historical. It's like a
historical.
It's like a piss off the dinosaurs thing. I don't know.
Anyway,
it's just mammals going like, I don't like you, big bird hip things.
It's shush. I've got to edit this. There's a bird.
She's distracted by a gull.
And there's a heron.
Yeah.
It might come out this side.
Might do.
No.
Nope. I think it's flying behind me.
So this is a really nice place to moor, and I'd be quite happy staying here for a few days. But when it's like this, the temptation to move is just too great.
Yeah.
Especially when you haven't moved the boat. Well, since you've hardly moved the boat in 3 months.
Yeah, and they updated the CRT FAQ for boaters and coronavirus last night, so we're allowed to move again. The 14-day suspension is lifted. So, yeah, the ability to move freely is nice. I took George for a nice walk yesterday. His paw seems to have recovered. We went over to the lock because Google Maps indicated that the lock had only one gate, which seemed unlikely.
There was one end of the lock and then the other then it was just like white water. And I was like, Michael,
must be some
I don't want to go this way.
It's got to be some sort of automatic editing mistake where like where two photos were taken when one was open and one was closed or something, but it ends up with just like one V-shaped arrow where there's one lock gate closed, and it's just like, that seems something wrong. so I was like, well, I'll verify. So I went up, and sure enough, there are in fact 2 lock gates, and there's a nice little poster there about the Trent catches, which were used to bring cargo up this way. Apparently it took 18 hours from Hull. That seems crazy small, right? Like, that seems like...
That's less than a day.
And they were sailing from Hull up the river, taking the tide and the wind, and that was it, to make it as far as Gunthorpe, and even to Nottingham on a really, really high tide day. They'd have to wait like quite a long time in Hull for the proper day to come for the tide, but then they'd ride the highest tide all the way up to Nottingham. Yeah, it's just crazy. It was this husband and wife teams, and apparently the only preserves they had on the boat was like a barrel that would have salt in it for meat and another barrel for water, and then they'd sleep underneath the canvas cover. And
what would they eat?
They'd eat like salted meat.
Oh.
And drink water, and probably fish. I don't know. Swans. No, They probably didn't eat swans.
That was really threatening. Did you hear that, swans? They eat swans.
Well, then the king would get involved. And we passed a place called Gibbet Hill, and I don't know what Gibbet Hill is related to, but it probably had a gibbet on it. So, that's good. Fun.
All right, should we go?
Yes. I've just rambled off for too long.
Yeah, or we could just sit here all day.
That's true.
And ramble.
Get a tan.
I don't want a tan. It's
very British.
It's very pleasant.
It is. It's really nice out here this morning. So we're going to ruin it by getting moving.
And just leaving the peace and quiet. I don't know how busy Newark will be, but that's where we're going.
Yeah.
I kind of like the peace and quiet of here apart from that road.
Though the number of bugs that just showed up is impressive.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
That way.
Okay. We go.
We managed to drag ourselves away from the very pleasant moorings to continue our journey north on the River Trent. I'm not sure if the swan's escorting the boat out of its territory or if it's just asking for yet more of our swan food supplies. Possibly both. One last handful of food seems to satisfy them. There's a lockkeeper on duty and we get the green light. In the lockkeeper takes our index number as usual, presumably to check we have a current licence or to track our movement, or both. There's now 6 miles between us and the next river lock. The water really is glass smooth, and I love seeing the perfect reflections of the grazing cows. There's a towpath that runs along the river here, and we spot a few walkers out enjoying the sunshine and views. The River Trent has been used as a navigation since Roman times, linking the Midlands with the Humber estuary and the continent. After the Trent and Mersey Canal opened in the 1770s, there was a need to improve the Trent navigation. Locks were built and the Beeston and Cranfeet Clut were created, and a towing path was added along its length. The Trent Navigation Company existed from 1783 to 1940. It was responsible for navigation on the Trent between Shardlow and Gainsborough. Larger locks were built in the 1880s and the channel was deepened to allow for use by bigger boats. Michael spots a Viking T1 glider taking off from the runway at RAF Syerston, home to the Central Gliding School. Here's a shot of it as it flies overhead. I've come to the front of the boat because it's a little bit more peaceful here, and I just wanted to sit quietly with the dog in the bow and really appreciate that I'm able to do this. Like, whenever we've cruised, I've always tried to remind myself how lucky I am. But especially now, after not being able to move for effectively the last 3 months, and then, however many months it was last year as well, it just really makes you appreciate that you can when you can. And then the fact that it's just so peaceful and beautiful, and that the sun is shining today, it just feels like a good day, despite everything else that's going on. It just feels nice to be able to do this. There's a long line of private moorings as we approach Hazelford Lock, and I really love seeing all the varied river craft that you just don't see on a canal. There's a lockkeeper on duty, the gates are open for us, and we have the green light. Finally, I seem to have learned that I don't need to get off the boat in these locks. All of these locks have riser rails that you can tie onto, and as we're going down, we've been managing with just one rope at the back. It's a big lock with a big drop, and eventually a crack of daylight appears between the gates. The last of the water floods out so the lock can equalise. There are different levels of mooring bollard here to cater for when the river is in flood. We've caught up to another narrowboat, so now we have company for the rest of the journey to Newark, which is about another 6 miles of cruising. This is the village of Fiskerton. Its position next to the Trent meant that by the 1840s there were wharves, coal yards and warehouses along the water's edge. There was once a watermill and windmill here too. Until the 1950s there was a ferryboat service over to the other side of the Trent at Stokefield. There's a small pontoon of visitor moorings here. There's a pub, village store and post office, and it looks like it would make a lovely place to stop. Well, these guys seem to be in quite a hurry. A few miles downstream we pass the village of Haugen, home to Haugen Marina, which has moorings for 300 boats. By the looks of it, most of them are river cruisers. A mile or so from Haugen is Gunthorpe Power Station. Just downstream from the power station is Aferham Weir, which takes the main channel of the Trent around to the north. The navigation continues directly to Newark, 2 miles from here, down the aptly named Newark Dyke. The sight of buildings seem to indicate that we're approaching the outskirts of town. This is the Haugen Bridge, which carries the A46 over the river. From here we get a glimpse of the spire of the Church of St Mary Magdalene in the centre of Newark. Having followed the other narrowboat all the way from Hazelford Lock, we now have someone to share Newark Town Lock with. I'm guessing the lockkeeper radioed ahead to say that we were on our way because the green light is on and the gates are open and ready for us. I have to say our first impressions of Newark are very good. The castle dominates the view, of course, and the sun is shining, which always helps. But from what we've seen, we're really going to like it here. Now we just need to find a mooring.
We made it to Newark.
And it's so nice here. Like, first impressions are really good, but we haven't got a very good mooring. There's
Gotta say, first impressions are a lot better than the Newark I've been to.
Just over there are the visitor moorings, which are like a nice floating pontoon with a lock and a ramp down, but it's just chocker with boats, and I'm guessing they might have been there the whole of lockdown. I don't know, they might have just turned up, who knows. So we're at this mooring where the wall is like this high, so getting on and off, like, it's fine, but getting on and off is okay, but then getting George on and off is going to be
not so simple.
Yeah. So there's a beautiful cruise down here. Just three locks, and in between the three locks there were two like 6-mile sections
of just,
gorgeous
farmland and cattle and birds, and it's a beautiful area right up until you get to the power station. The power station's not the most gorgeous thing, but and then there's a big weir past the power station. Some really nice houses, a couple of which, there was one at Fiskerton, there was a boat sitting out there, and I'm just like, I think that boat is worth more than any house I could ever afford. So that's a That's a pricey boat. Yeah, it's an interesting section. Like, there's a lot of marinas.
It's my favourite river section. I think maybe just because after lockdown and the sun shining, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's wide. It's comfortable for most of it. The speed limit is essentially not there until you get to the locks.
Yeah,
so
it's
you can
really
kinda
weird.
just move along.
Because we went past that last weir, and obviously most of the river, or a large proportion of the river, diverts over the weir, and then the river that we're on just suddenly really narrows, and
Yeah, it's just a little channel.
yeah,
And it's, you know, it's got a posted speed limit of 4 kilometers an hour or 4 miles an hour, and seemingly boats don't really recognize that the speed limit's there.
I'm really enjoying it. I do kind of want to stay here a bit longer, but if this is not practical, we'll have no choice but to move on, I think.
It is less than practical, although it's a short walk to the castle, which I might at least take a look at.
Did we pass it? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
there.
back there. It's a slighted castle, so it's really just kind of 2 remaining walls. The rest of it was destroyed by the Roundheads after the Civil War.
Anyway.
Before Bonnie Prince Charlie became Bonnie Prince No Neck. And yeah. So thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up, comment down below, subscribe if you haven't already, subscribe to Minimalist Maximal Velocity for our time-lapse videos, and click that bell if you want to get notifications. Also, say hello to the lock keeper at the Newark lock, because, you know, he's of York. Hey! She's gonna have to add this. I'm sorry. I'm just going off. Rambling.
It's because you haven't been allowed to ramble to a vlog for
For too long.